continue to go up to the front and get what you want to listen in. So welcome to wineUdesign. You are sitting or standing inside the first winery ever in Nassau County, ever to be licensed in Nassau County. So we have a license to produce, which is manufacture, sell to retail, which is sell to you directly, and wholesale sell, which is sell to a restaurant or someone else who has a retail license to sell wine. And we're the only one with that license in Nassau County. We started 10 years ago. Okay, 2010 is when we opened the winery. We opened the winery because we wanted to provide a place for people to come make their own wine. All right, so as I look around the room, I know Helen's been here and other people have been here making wine with us. That was important to me. That's how I grew up. As a kid, I made wine with my dad. We made tomato sauce. We have our own gardens. We make our own stuff because you know what? They weren't going to go to a store and buy a bottle of wine. It just wasn't going to happen. So that is more importantly what I bring to the table over here. More importantly than the wine is the experience of doing that. So when we do that, it is a experience. For anybody who didn't look that way, you can look that way. I have a wood-burning pizza oven. I break that out on one of the 4 visits for winemaking, and I make pizza for you. It's part of the experience. So everything that I do is about enjoying it with friends and family. You don't come just you to make wine. You come with friends, neighbors, whatever it is. So it's a group thing. So it's usually commissioned by a group of people who want to make, not only make a wine, but have an experience together. So each of these barrels that you look at belong to a group of people, usually a group of people anywhere from 6 to 10 people. There are a couple barrels here that belong to just a couple. Those are few and far between.
They drink a lot.
They drink a lot. They have the kind of household where their kids are in their 20s and they're stealing bottles out of the basement. Like, wine just goes in those kinds of households. For the most part, though, people want that experience. The traditional wineries aren't giving you that. They'll walk you through the back room and show you their nice tanks and their barrels, but they're not going to let you get your hands in the product and make wine. They're not going to let you make your own wine. So we thought that was an important thing to bring to Long Island because nobody else was doing it. I certainly will take credit for inventing this idea, but I didn't. In New Jersey, for whatever reason, that's how I found out about it, there's more than a dozen of these kinds of businesses. And I was saying earlier to Mike that I think why these businesses flourished in New Jersey is because New Jersey had a really, really strict handle on giving liquor licenses to restaurants. It was not easy to get a liquor license, and you would have to bring your own liquor to restaurants. And so these kinds of places started popping up. People made their own wine, and they would bring their own wine to a restaurant right out of their basement instead of going to the liquor store on the way. And so we looked at that, we saw that as a concept, and we said, but everybody that we know, and of course, everybody that I know, but everybody, I'm going to assume over here, knows somebody, some friend, some neighbor, somebody that makes or made wine in the garage down the block or around somewhere. And so there's so many people having done that or do that, that I knew that there needs to be a kind of a support group for that or a support system that can help that. So I knew that we would be successful here, but Long Island's a tough place to start a business. It's not easy to just throw 5,000 square feet together and make it, So it's taken a long time. We're 10 years and we're just really starting to get going. Unless you know me or now Victor, you didn't know that we were here. There are people that lived in Hicksville for 40 years and didn't know that for 10 years there's a winery over here. So it just takes time to get that stuff off the ground. As we've built up that repertoire, people want more from us, and so that's when you're going to hear from Victor as to why we brought in the culinary experience. So the winemaking experience has always been the same thing it is when we started 10 years ago over here. There's 4 visits that span 11 months to make your wine. Yeah, the 4 visits is important because there's a legal aspect as to why we do 4 visits. Porque legally, in order for you to come here and make wine and take it home without paying any taxes, sales or government tax, you have to physically be involved in 4 steps of the process of making your wine. And so what I'm doing is providing you with a space and equipment, and you guys are coming here and making your own wine. You're buying grapes from me. When you go buy fruit at the supermarket, do they charge you tax? They do not. Okay, so it's a non-taxable item that I sell you, and then you're making your own wine. As a U.S. citizen, you can make up to 200 gallons of your own wine. That's about 4 barrels, and not have to report it or pay tax on it. And so we love that idea of making wine and doing that. And people, I think, get in on that too. So that's why it's a 4-step process. And that hasn't changed over the course of 11 months. What has changed, however, is the amount of wine we're making. I mean, in 2010, if I made 13 barrels, that's a lot. We lost our shirts, okay? We doubled and doubled and doubled, and by the time 2015, 16, we were doing 50, 60, 70 barrels. Now we're doing 100, 130 barrels a year. Now, when I say a year, that's mostly September and October, and a little bit of May. So in just under 3 months' time, we got to get 130, 140 barrels of wine done. And it's not just, hey, bring in a truck, do 130 barrels. I got to schedule almost 130 different groups of people to come in, schedule them to come in and have their thing, make them pizza. It's a lot of scheduling involved. It's a lot of communication involved. It's a really orchestrated thing to be able to bring that many people in, share the winemaking experience with them, let them use my equipment that costs thousands of dollars. Shit's broken before. But it is what it is. It's part of the experience in the business. And I think the next generation, Paul was talking about, I want to bring this up. You were talking about what Blue Apron has a subpar retention rate? Okay. Over the years, my retention rate is through the roof because my customers that came to me in 2010 still make wine with me today. Every year they come back and make wine. I have customers that come 2 times a year. They make Chilean seasoned wine and California seasoned wine. So our retention rate is a tribute to the fact that people consider this a tradition. Winemaking is a tradition for them, an annual tradition. And so they continue coming back. So with very little to no marketing and advertising budget over the years, because I haven't spent, and you guys all drove here. I mean, if you didn't have GPS, you wouldn't get here. So being well off the beaten path, we've been able to retain our customer base, grow on that, and that's a nice model to have, in my opinion, because all business models that aren't built on that are smoke and mirrors. If you have good retention rate and customers coming back, you don't have to spend a lot of money on advertising to bring new ones in. So go ahead.
What happens in each of the 4 steps?
Okay. Driving my conversation. All right. Each of the 4 steps are iconic winemaking steps. So, on the first visit, the grapes will have arrived, either from California or Chile or South Africa. And we need to use a crushing destemming machine. We need to get the stems out of the way. So you'll come and sort through your grapes, put them into a machine that eliminates the stems. Those go to garbage, and we start the fermentation process. That's class 1. It's about 45 minutes to an hour long. To move 800 pounds of grapes through a machine and end up with about 70 gallons of must. M-U-S-T is what it's called when it's just grapes, juice, seeds, sugar. And that will spend a week fermenting into alcohol. The group will come back exactly 7 days later. So if you come on a Wednesday night, you're going to come back again the following Wednesday. Your sweet, sweet grape juice has then been fermented into fully alcoholic wine in just 7 days. So in just 7 days, we turned your sweet juice into alcohol, and now it's time to remove the skins, the solids, from the wine. So we use a wine press. The iconic thing is those wooden slatted machines that create a lot of pressure and squeeze all the wine. Yep, those wooden machines right over there. That squeeze all the wine. If you want the photo op, I'll do it, but most of your friends don't want to see your feet in their wine. But that's all good. But it's a visual thing. So at that meeting is when we do the pizza making out of the oven, and we squeeze the wine out of the press, and we taste your very new wine. Beaujolais Nouveau, something that people know, is that wine. The very young wine of the season. It's supposed to be an indicator of what the then aged wine will be. That's a version of that. And everybody who comes and makes wine here gets to taste that wine, very young wine, as it pours out of the press. That's when we go into barrel for aging. The rest of the 11 months winemaking experience is mostly wine just sitting in these oak barrels, creating a relationship with the oak, exchanging flavors between the grapes and the oak, and that's what creates the tannins, the flavors. When somebody says, oh, I taste chocolate and tobacco in my wine, there aren't people throwing that stuff in your wine. That's the relationship between that grape and that barrel, creating those kinds of flavors. Age has a lot to do with it. Midway point through the 11 months is a mid-season tasting. The group gets brought back in. We do a barrel tasting out of the wine. We make sure it's progressing the way we expect. We make sure there aren't any noticeable deficiencies. And that's the last time to correct anything like the length of term on the oak, pulling it off the oak early. That's a personal preference thing. Some people love oak, some people don't. So that's where we make those adjustments. And then after that midway point, you finish the 11-month term, and you come in and you bottle your wine. Physically, you will sanitize bottles, operate the bottling machine, fill the bottles with wine, operate the corking machine right over here, put the cork in your wine, and you will heat shrink a capsule onto your neck that will hopefully match the label that you get to make for your bottle. And you all get to have your own personally labeled bottles of wine. So that's the 11-month full experience that these people are getting into. And the wine, the reason why I think it's popular is if you read in the trades, most of you probably don't, but you know, wine, like everything else that's made in huge numbers, it starts to lose its original organic approach, and they start making things, once you start making things in bigger batches, you gotta do things to it to make it last, right? So that's a misstep for me. Everything we do here is about keep it local. We don't ship anything out of the state. Most things are being given to people in their trunks and brought to their homes. So I don't need to put a lot of sulfites into the wine, very little. We don't put any other additives into the wine unless it's a wine-saving thing for whatever reason that may be, and that is rarely happens. That's like a 1 percentile potential. And so what we end up with is low sulfite wine that doesn't give you headaches, that allows you to have that second glass, and that isn't chemically driven. So in my opinion, my belief system is that this is the wave of the future of bringing things back local. Because shipping has allowed us to move fresh produce in a cold state from the vineyards to the suburbs, now we don't need to manufacture the stuff at the vineyard. We can manufacture it near your home and allow you to enjoy the wine in a better state. And so that, in my opinion, is where this is going. Small, local, right? Hyper-local, these are the key words that people like to hear and like to talk about, and I think wine needs to go that way too to satisfy, you know, what the market wants. Don't hesitate to come and talk to me about trying some of the other wines we have. There isn't a type of wine that's a household name that we don't make in a blend or by itself, or, you know, the number of barrels that we make in a given year. Over the last 10 years, we've made lots of different types of wine. So ask me if you know or want to try something. The 2 seasons we make wine in are, one of them's coming up, September and October, so harvest season is quickly approaching, and they'll be picking grapes all over California, Oregon, Washington. I tend to pick a lot from the West Coast. I bring over some juices from Italy, and we have access to Long Island grapes if that's something anybody wants to do, we can do that. So September, October is a really busy time for us, and if you want to come back and visit, whether to make wine or to have a culinary experience with Victor, the next 3 months are a really fun time over here. We're basically going every night.
How many people here would be interested in coming in as a group to do some wines for ourselves?
Nice. And, okay, now you don't need to commit to a full barrel and get a group together. For some people, you don't want to organize your friends. Your friends can be pains in the asses, I get it. So if you don't want to do that, you join something called our community barrel, which we created for 2 people. You come, you join a bunch of other 2 people who wanted to make wine, and you commit to just 1 case of wine. And for $275, you get all 4 visits, the case of wine, with your own private labels on it. That's inclusive of the 2 people. And I will put my money on it that you're not getting 4 dates out with the spouse for cheaper anywhere else. So that's I don't lose money on it, but that's my loss leader. That's how I get people in the door to see the process. And then when you love it and you decide, shit, that was great, we'll make a barrel together. And then you'll know how to work it, because after having met me 4 times and trying different wines, you'll know what's going to work for you and your group and whatever. Let's take it offline afterwards for questions, because I want you guys to hear Victor out and the addition of the Cook Studio at wineUdesign, which I think is going to just be a great addition to what we're doing. Obviously, food and wine go well together. I didn't invent that, neither did he, but they just do. But just doing food and wine together is one thing. Making food and wine together, I think, is awesome. So that's what we wanted to do together. And he'll tell you, I've been hounding him for 3 or 4 years to let's get this done, and we finally did it. So I'm going to bring Victor up to talk about his experience and what he offers. And then let's get up and eat the rest of the food and drink the rest of the wine. I'll take questions.
No, it's not a question, it's a statement, because I came and did it with my husband over the course of a year, and what I think is really unique and appealing about this process is that it takes away the intimidation factor. You don't feel like you're going into like a winery where you don't know anything about the process and somebody may be talking down to you and you don't know about the terms. It's so simple, it's so fun, it's so approachable that you feel like anybody can learn how to do it, and you come away just with good knowledge, but having a better understanding of the process.
Thank you.
So now, how many people are interested?
You'll get your cut later. So actually, what she's saying is very important, because experience level doesn't matter over here. You could be a beginner and know nothing about wine, and you'll definitely come away with the ability to navigate a wine list, not only for your own personal preference to make sure that you pick a better wine at dinner, but also if you end up being the one that's picking the wines for the table, there's little tidbits that I give that will help you navigate that, and that's priceless in itself. And then you could be the type of person that has a 2,000 bottle cellar in your basement, and I can also satisfy that person who wants to have a really specific wine with a really specific taste, with grapes from a really specific place. We can do all that because I have access to all these vineyards, and they're all selling fruit. So we're in a great position now with the way things are maintained and shipped, and we can do a lot. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, are there any rules of reading your wine? Like if I want to give a client a gift or something?
All day long. Gifting is great. Pay me with your business account, and it's tax deductible. All right, so that's a great way to utilize our service, is make wine for your business to then give away at the end of the year. Great holiday gift. Put your private labels on it.
Setting up the labels?
I'm sorry?
Is there a minimum on setting up the labels, and how many labels?
12 labels. Yeah, 12 labels through my website. You can work with our printers, our suppliers, and make your own labels. 12 is typically the minimum. But you can...
That'll cover a case.
Yeah, it covers a case. Yeah, just perfectly, actually. 12 bottles to a case. 240 bottles to a barrel, which is about 52 gallons, and that's 20 cases of wine. All right, we'll take questions offline. I'm going to let Victor talk about the culinary experience, because there's no perfect match than that. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Well, I'm just going to piggyback onto what Helen said. So I've been a chef for 30-something years. I know a ton of wine guys. I know a ton of sommeliers. Most of them are a-holes. Okay, I've partnered up with this guy. He has demystified wine for me, again, a chef for 30 years, that we come in here and we taste stuff out of the barrel and drink it out of plastic glasses. And that's kind of the way it should be done. My grandfather made wine in the basement, and that's why this whole experience that he started works, and I love it. I met him 4 years ago, and he's not wrong. He's been after me for about 4 years to do something steady here. And I met him when I ran the Culinary Academy of Long Island. He called me up, he goes, hey, my name is Vincenzo, I run a winery in Hicksville. School was in Syosset. I go, winery in Hicksville? What do you know? There's not. Yeah, there is. All right, whatever. I'll come down and talk to you. Drove past it 3 times, couldn't find the place, but came in and was blown away by the place. That you walk in, barrels, and you meet them, and it was just a great experience. But back then, I wasn't as wise as I am now. Maybe when I turned 50, I don't know. That, we finally met up again at a Long Island Food Council meeting a few months ago. I was looking to do my own cooking school, somewhere, hot food town, Huntington. I live in Huntington. Rents in Huntington are absolutely ridiculous. Then he goes, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. Yeah, it's in a warehouse, it's in an industrial park, but you know what? Every hot spot in Brooklyn right now is an old warehouse in an industrial park. Like, that is the hot concept. He was way ahead of his time. So about 4 months ago, I said, yeah, let's do the cooking experience. We actually started it over there. We called it the Cook Studio at wineUdesign, and we just went right out of the gate. We just started classes. Helen was at my first inaugural class there, but we had about 20 people. I don't even think I had my website then. We just went through the amount of people that knew about the class. But now I have a website, cookstudio.com. All the food that you tried tonight, we teach classes in all of that. We have an empanada class. We have tonight we have a sushi class. We have a fresh mozzarella class. We have a dumpling class. We have every one of those classes we have. They are 2.5 hour classes. They are $75 a person. They include wine. We were including just a glass of wine, but then being the great person that he is and the great marketer that he is, he's like, you know what? Let's just keep giving them wine. Let's just give them tastings of wine. We give 3-4 tastings of wine, which for us is probably 2 glasses, but hopefully it gets you to buy wine on the way out. So I run about 4 classes a week, so about 30 people a week are coming through these doors who never heard of the place. I had a guy who lives in Hicksville, around the block. He teaches in the Hicksville School District. Never knew there was a winery here. But he's going to come back. He's going to do a community barrel. So it's really kind of working for both of us. I do a lot of stuff on social media. I mean, the Long Island Council is great. And what Mike said, if you see it, like it, but share it. Just to let everybody know here. And Dolores, maybe you could send out an email for any Long Island Food Council member. I will give a 15% discount. Okay, so when you book, it's...
You're giving away the farm.
I am. It's marketing. It's only 6 months. It's marketing. You don't have to spend money to make money. You have to lose money to make money. Okay, so the code is LI. Huh?
Does it come with an apron?
No. Okay. Slow down. Simmer down. You get wine, you get food, and you get a discount.
You don't get the dancing girl. No apron, no.
Well, I don't know. We get, after the 4 shots of wine, LIFC 2019 is the discount code. All right, so if anybody wants to do it. As this has been growing, we've been doing a ton of corporate business. I didn't think I was going to do as much of the corporate team building as I've been. Beth Page, Federal Credit Union, has already booked twice. Coca-Cola has booked. All these big name places have been coming down now.
They're sick of just Coke.
Huh?
They're sick of just Coke.
They're sick of just having Coke. We have to hide the Pepsi thing up there. So that has been an area that people have been enjoying the place because it's a great venue. I am also looking to expand this concept, the Cook Studio at concept with Vincenzo. We are partnered up. I am talking to Great South Bay Brewery. I might do a pop-up class there. Sushi and Suds. You come in, all the beer you can drink, all the sushi you can make and eat. There's a brewery in Huntington. I've been talking to them too, talking to Del Vino. Vineyards in Northport. Same sort of thing, the concept. But this is really, this is my home. This is the place. Interactive winery, interactive food experience. Like I said, it's been great for both of us. Great exposure. Everybody's been very happy who have come through. So again, I implore everybody, grab a card on your way out, book a class, you get that. The discount code, we have fun at every class, and lots of wine at every class. So, all right, any questions?
How long did it class?
2.5 hours. All right, depends on the class, depends on the size of the class. For the private parties, it's a 2-hour class, but they get the room for the night. So if it's a corporate thing and they want to do a meeting, God bless them. If they want to bring in a cake and sing, okay. But I will tell you that we are, I don't do kid stuff. It is 13 years or older. I've had a few people call me and say, hey, could I bring my 10-year-old? They love to cook, and sure, if they're going to sit there and cook. But it is not, I don't do the kid parties. I don't, you told me about the school that just opened up in Port Jeff. But they do, Port Washington. They do kid parties, they do after school stuff. That's not what it is. This is a functioning winery. So I'm trying not to be all things to all people. You know what I mean? The classes are what they are, but the private parties, they come in, they get the place really for the night. And if they want to take 3 hours, I don't charge them an extra time like that. But like I said, the corporate team building has really been huge for us. and the private parties. I had a woman just book her 40th birthday party for December 7th. That is ways away, but you know, I've had people, they come in, we did a sushi class the other night, $75 a person. They get plenty of wine. The woman said, she goes, I can't go out for sushi for $75. Get this amount. And I made 4 sushi rolls, ate 2, took them home, and had wine. We make sure everybody enjoys themselves, right? You got plenty of cheese when you, and the pesto that your husband ruined with all the salt. I tell that story at every class now. So I line up everything on the table just like a cooking show. And I have a big thing of salt and pepper there that I'm just assuming everybody knows a pinch. You know, probably the wine I'm gonna make. It wasn't, no, it wasn't Helen. Helen knows how to cook. It was Helen's husband, but he poured, you were mad. He poured it right in there. So again, the wine was probably to blame, but it wasn't that. But anyway, they had a great time. Again, everybody has a great time. We have a ton of fun at the classes, and there's plenty of food. The one thing that differentiates me from a lot of the other schools out there is the last thing I'll say, and I don't say anything bad about any other schools. You know, sometimes you'll see a menu for a cooking school, and you'll go, wow, look at that, that's a 5-course menu. We're gonna have all that stuff. You're gonna have it, but you're not gonna make all that stuff. You're gonna go in, you make the soup, you make this, you make the, whatever I do, everybody does it, and everybody makes it, and everybody eats it. We do a pizza night, every person makes 2 pizzas. They eat one, they take one home. So it's very interactive, and there's quite a bit of food. All right, any questions? What's that? Pizza night's a great night. I love. We fire up the wood burning oven, drag it outside because the heat with the wine barrels. Yes, huh?
And you're only limiting them, it's a 20-person limit, like for every class? Like
24. I could do 24 over there comfortably. For the private events, I could go up to 30 because for the private ones, then we move the barrels and I can get some more in there. So I have 35 people. One group wanted to do a ravioli cook-off. They came in. The bosses were the judges. And the funny thing with the corporate parties, they either drink a lot or not at all. And this group wasn't drinking. The bosses came in, started drinking. They all got wrecked. At the end, the bosses bought bottles for everybody. It was crazy. Some people come in, they don't want to touch it. It's a very weird dynamic with the corporate groups. But yeah, I could do 30, 35. We can move stuff around, but for the general classes, I go up to 24. All right? Any other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
I'll have some chuckles too when you guys leave.
So we're going to stay, I guess, till they kick us out. So have this much wine, there's some more food. Also, does anybody want any information on the forum? Just so you guys